What are the most effective ways that we can gauge whether we're making progress as a society at large is by garnering the opinion of today's youth, especially those with disabilities. They provide a unique and thought provoking perspective which we can all draw knowledge from. And here at the John McGivney Children's Center, we have a unique advantage with some of the most dynamically talented and gifted young people in all of Windsor, Essex. And on this latest episode of the Speak Up podcast, I had the unique and humbling privilege to sit down with the YAC members who make up our Youth Advisory Council to get their perspective on how far we've come in eliminating barriers towards inclusion, how far we still need to go, and their greatest hopes for the future at large. And my conversation with this talented group of young people starts right now. Yay! So let's do it. I want to welcome all of you to the Speak Up podcast, and I want to thank you for giving a voice to young people with disabilities through conversation. It's great to see all of you this afternoon, and thank you so very much for being here.
You're very welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
Thank you for having us.
It's
yeah,
a pleasure.
absolutely. And Kayla, the first question goes to you this afternoon, and I'm wondering if you can tell me about how you have learned to effectively advocate for yourself having a disability, and how have you taught yourself to accept who you are and what you bring to the table.
Well, Kev, the way I've learned to deal with self-advocacy is by letting myself be open and fight for what I need or what I want. And the way I establish that is by just pushing for what I need in life.
Fabulous. And does anybody else care to share with this question?
I think I'll add, Kev.
Go ahead, Arda.
I've learned to advocate to myself with practice. It's not something that comes naturally to a lot of people. It takes a lot of practice, and I'm proud of myself for every little step I make closer to advocating for bigger things.
Absolutely. And what about you, Britt? Did you have anything you wanted to share for this question?
Agreed. Self-advocacy is definitely not a skill learned overnight. Like both Kayla and Arta have said, it is a skill, and a major skill somebody with a disability has to learn. Again, different stages of your life need different how do I say this? Need different stages or skills of advocacy. So if you start with something small, eventually, like Arta said, you'll work up to the bigger things, and you'll get more comfortable as you continue to do it, so that when you need something, you then know how to ask for it, meaning if you need help, if you just want help that day, if you don't normally need help with a task, but that day, for whatever reason you want help with it or need help, you'll become much more comfortable with it if you have the practice. And another thing with self-advocacy is if you've learned your body, if you've learned the way that your body works and the way that you work and the way that you best communicate with someone else, that'll help you through your journey of advocacy.
Yeah, absolutely. And Faith, I'm wondering your perspective on this question as well. What do you have to share with us this afternoon?
Well, I definitely echo everything the ladies said before me. I think advocacy is a skill that you grow to learn. And even like with me, I feel like I've grown more confident in advocating and asking people to help me be more independent, even like if it's the tiniest things, but then I feel more accomplished and more confident in myself.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Arta, you'll get the chance to kick off this question. And I'm wondering your thoughts of what other people need to know about living with a disability and how can they be an ally?
It's different depending on who you talk to, but for me, I always tell my friends, having a disability doesn't mean that you're disabled. It means that you have a different ability that you kind of bring to the table. And also, the things that you kind of have to do a bit differently, you kind of adapt to the changes of having to kind of do those things a bit differently. And how can they be an ally? They can listen to you and your experiences and advocate for disabilities on a larger scale. And just kind of being kind and helping you if you ask, and knowing like how to properly treat someone with a disability, such as not talking to an adult with a disability like they're a child.
Absolutely. And I'm wondering if any of the rest of the group wants to share for this question.
If I may go.
Yeah, absolutely, Britt, go ahead.
I feel like, so many people, even without a wheelchair, but say you have a physical disability, if people see you, I don't know how to explain it, but they have a certain expectation of how you should act, how you should be in a wheelchair, and that's not always correct. Yes, the media portrays it like that. Yes, there are stereotypes. Yes, all of this is put out there for the world to consume, but it's not always the correct information. So if I have to give somebody advice, the way you talk to a friend, say if you're two buddies and you're 13 years old and you got someone in your class with a physical disability, and you talk to your friend and you're being silly with your friend, act with them like you would that friend. Don't change your tone, don't change your mindset. For me, I've always said it's how I get around, it's not who I am. Yes, sometimes with physical disabilities comes developmental disabilities, but it doesn't always mean severe. It doesn't always mean, they don't know what's going on. Even if they can't verbally communicate, if they can't talk to you, it doesn't always mean they don't know what's going on. It's very nice when somebody wants to just talk to you, and they talk to you as if you're another person that they're saying hello to, and they don't change their tone, they don't talk down to you. It's more respectful if you treat us like you would a regular human being, right? Someone you would talk to without a disability is how you should talk to somebody with a disability, regardless of what that disability is. And then go from there once you find out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And, Kayla, I know that you're passionate about showing other people the capabilities of children or people with disabilities. So tell me your thoughts on this question as well.
I have to agree with Britt. I think there's a lot of expectations that people think that we should be portraying. Like in my personal experience, people have asked me if I sleep at night in my wheelchair, or when I go out in public, people ask me, well, why can't you talk? And they don't give me a chance to. They just ask whoever the person is that I'm with, well, any questions about me, and then that person has to be like, oh, she can talk. They just don't give you a chance, because even though they see the wheelchair and the disability, they think just because I'm in a wheelchair doesn't means that I'm not capable of talking or all there.
Yeah, and Faith, I'll give you a chance to round out this portion of our discussion. What do you think people need to know about being an ally for folks with disabilities?
Well, for me, I think patience is a huge thing. I think with every person, if they have a disability or not, you have to have patience and be more compassionate for whatever someone else is going through, and don't assume that you know their struggle just because you've seen it for a day or however long. Just be patient with the other person. Don't assume that they can't do something because you think they can't.
Yeah, absolutely.
Agreed.
Yeah, absolutely. And Arda, you get another chance to kick off the next phase of our conversation. I'm wondering, Arda, if you could share with me one thing you wish you would have known about having a disability when you were younger.
I would say I wish that I knew that my life wasn't always going to be sunshine and rainbows. Like it wasn't always gonna be pleasant. And over the years I kind of realized that with like all the surgeries and medical appointments I've had to attend. But learning how to adapt, that was important to me. And also it's important for me to share this so I'm not alone. And I wish I knew that it that people aren't as aware of disabilities as I'd like them to be. Like I get stared at in public or asked different questions that seem very easy to answer to me, or like the answer is concrete, but to other people, it's not. So just kind of learning to adapt to some of those hardships.
Yeah, and Faith, I'll give you a chance to respond to that question as well if you had something you wanted to share.
One thing I wish I knew about living with a disability when I was younger would be that I think I'm stronger than I give myself credit for sometimes. And so, like how other people see me has nothing to do with me. That's not my problem. And, you know, if they think having a disability is a negative, that's not my problem to convince them. It feels like I have to like carry that, and I don't want, like, that's not fair for me to carry that. I think I'm strong because of the things that I've gone through.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, Kayla, I'm wondering how you view this question as well.
I wish I would have known that how to tell people about my disability and how to learn how to accept the way people look at me sometimes.
Yeah,
Whether that be like in grade school or high school, or like, you know, because sometimes kids get bullied in school or talked to differently.
yeah, absolutely. And, you know, Britt, you'll have a chance to conclude this portion of our chat. What do you think people need to know about sort of living with a disability, and what do you think you would have wanted to know when you were younger as you have gone through this journey?
Something I would have wanted to know when I was younger was not so much about like the physical stuff, but like more of the, like, as you get older, like when you're a kid, it seems, and I don't mean a kid like under 10 years old, I mean like a teenager. When you have respite and everything, that's all covered. But when you turn 18, they kind of just say, now you're on your own. And if you don't know where to look, if you don't know where to go, if you don't know what you're doing, or your parents don't know what's out there for you, you are essentially on your own. And I don't mean that your parents are going to leave you. I mean, anything that was covered before you were 18, so like respite workers, um, or like therapy or anything like that. When you turn 18 and you get transitioned into adulthood, you have to then start that process of, you know, funding again, all over again, and that takes a long time. And sometimes you have to apply for funding more than once. And I don't mean back to back. I mean, if you apply for it at 18 and they tell you no, then try again when you are 25, 28, 30, you know, as you get older, because your needs change. Mm-hmm. The way your body works changes. The way you need help is gonna change. And that's not just for people with physical disabilities or intellectual disabilities or anything like that. Everybody, as they get older, their body changes, their needs change, everything changes for everyone. I think it's just, we notice it more because of, or I shouldn't say we notice it more, but we think we notice it more because of the fact that we have a physical disability. So it's, you see the outward change more. At least for me, I feel it more than I did when I was younger.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, Kayla, you'll get a chance to start us off on this next question. I'm curious to ask you about how you've navigated living with a disability from a personal perspective, and what else do you think people need to know?
How I've navigated with a disability, in my personal opinion, is by dealing with the cards you dealt with. Yeah, I have a disability, but it will never stop me from what I want to accomplish. And I think people need to know, just because you have a disability does not define who you are and what you want to accomplish.
Yeah, absolutely. And Arda,
Definitely.
I'm curious, Arda, if you have any thoughts on this question as well.
How I've kind of navigated, kind of the same as Kayla was mentioning previously. Just about like dealing with what you kind of have as challenges as they come, because like Bert was saying, our needs will change, and different things like I've learned about my transition to adulthood experience that just recently happened. Different things can kind of happen at that point. So, not worrying about the future, just kind of worrying about what is in front of you right now and how you can change it um, for the better at this point in time.
Yeah, and Faith, what are your thoughts here as well?
Well, I feel like I really relate to what Arta said, and just at least when I was in my teen years, it was very challenging because I feel like you're kind of brought up to think about what you want your future to look like, and I had a lot of trouble looking at my future because it was really scary because I never saw someone who looked like me doing anything. And so I was really intimidated to even think about that. And, you know, it felt kind of like, okay, this is a big step, but as long as I've known that, like, as long as I give myself patience and at least not take on too much and do one step at a time, then that's what works best for me.
Yeah, and Bert, tell me, how do you view this question?
How do I navigate the challenges of having a disability?
Yeah,
Okay. Well, the best way, I think Arta and Kayla put it the best way possible. Just kind of rolling with it, to be very fair, rolling with the challenges of life, and try to um, try to take on that challenge more than once. Meaning, if something is challenging or a roadblock in my way and I have to get over it or figure out how to do it or something, whatever the case may be, I'll try it one way. If that doesn't work, I'll try it a different way. If that doesn't work, try it several times, several different ways. You don't want to try it the same way, get the same result. That's not going to move you forward. But try it several times, several different ways. And if you still can't get it, then you know that this is a challenge that you need help with. But it's always good to try things more than once, and even on different days too. Maybe that day you had trouble with it, even trying it 5 different ways, and you asked for help. The next time you encounter that challenge, try it again on your own. Maybe you'll get it, because it's a different day. Your body may function differently that day. It may be a good day, it may be a bad day. So you kind of just gotta roll with it. And some days are better than others. and I think that goes without saying for everyone. Not just the five of us here, but everyone out there as well. But you just kind of go with it, and challenges take them on as they come.
Yeah,
Sometimes you're gonna need help, sometimes you're good to go.
yeah, absolutely. And again, the next question I have this afternoon goes to you, and I'll open it up for the floor. I'll actually combine the next two questions because they're interconnected. I'm wondering how you all view the word responsibility, and as you've gotten older, how do you look at your increased responsibility as sort of uh, uh, your own sense of ownership or creating your identity? Kayla, you're up first for this question.
The word responsibility means to me personally that I am responsible for so many different things in my life, and it's okay if you need help, but you always want to take accountability for what you need to do.
Yeah, and Faith, tell me, how do you look at the word responsibility, and how have you sort of embraced it as you've gotten older?
Well, for me, the word responsibility, I feel like I've grown to be more responsible, and even like being a better advocate. I feel like when I was younger, I wouldn't have known how to do that, and I wouldn't have like thought about it. But it feels really good to try to be an ally for others, and just like be a better listener, and have embraced having a disability in this community.
Absolutely. And Arno, what are your thoughts on this question?
Responsibility just to me means doing what I can to the best of my ability and kind of taking charge of those tasks that I know I can do myself without help. Right now I'm thinking of moving to St. Clair College dorm. Well, I actually just applied because that will help me with my transportation needs at the moment. For September when my program starts, but it'll also give myself a bit of responsibility and give myself that kind of first taste into what it's like living alone and doing those things. I also do things like book my own doctor's appointments because that's a huge part of what I have to do as an adult.
Yeah, and Brittany, I'll allow you to answer this question as well. How do you view the concept of responsibility?
There's two ways I can look at the word as it pertains to my life. The word responsibility is huge to me because I have a responsibility to myself and and that means like everything under the sun. So to me that means making sure my bills are paid on time, making sure that I have booked the bus to make sure I go grocery shopping, to make sure I get to work on time, to make sure I have what I need, or if I need more help, I'm asking for it, or to keep, just to kind of stay aware of, my own needs and, where I am personally in life, and just kind of keep aware with life itself in that respect. But to me, I also think of responsibility as we're doing the podcast for people with disabilities. I felt like I had a responsibility to the younger generation coming up who's growing up with a disability now, which I didn't have when I was growing up with a disability. Like we didn't have podcasts growing up. There wasn't a YouTube channel of all these different adults with disabilities out there. At least I didn't even think to look it up or anything. I didn't have it, it wasn't put out there for me to see directly, or that, as Faith said, you never really saw a grown-up person with a disability. If you did, it was like you were in awe as a kid because you were like, wow, I'm gonna be a grown-up like that one day, or you're going, where do I go when I get bigger? Because you don't see them. Like there wasn't that as I was growing up either. So as the YC, when you apply to become a YC member, I actually put that on my application that I felt a responsibility to the younger generation to make it easier for them, to show them that they could do anything they set their mind to show them that it isn't, I mean, it is, but it isn't scary to the point where, growing up is terrifying in the sense of you don't know what's going to happen. It's terrifying for everybody because you don't know what's going to happen. But in the same breath, you're seeing 5 adults on a podcast talking about what it's like to grow up with a disability. So in that sense, you see it, but now you're like, it's more intriguing than it is scary to say, where am I going to end up when I'm older, when I grow up, when I get to this age, or this age, because now you see it. Now we have it at our fingertips. It's available. Everybody's got a cell phone. Everybody's got some type of something to, I don't want to say everybody's got internet, but somebody's got, something to show you. You will get somewhere that shows you, hey, here are some adults with disabilities, all different types, all different kinds. You can grow up and be an adult yourself and have it not be so scary in the sense of, I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And, this next question is open to all of you. And, Faith, I'll start this question with you. I'm curious to know what collectively and individually would be your advice to teenagers with disabilities transitioning to adulthood?
Oh, my advice would be it's okay to be scared. It's okay to feel like you have no idea what's coming, because adulthood in itself is so scary and it feels like there's a lot of pressure on you, but you can do it because you've faced all of your medical stuff. And so if you can face that, I think nothing else could be scarier than that. So I think you can handle things from being an adult.
And what about you, Arda?
I think some advice I'd have to a teenager transitioning to adulthood would be to kind of do your research and kind of start early, because like Britt had mentioned earlier, adult services change, and that wasn't something that I was aware of previously. And sometimes those applications are tedious and take a lot of time to kind of hear back from. So it's better to try to be as prepared as possible and kind of looking at what you need and also what your goals are so that you can have the proper support. And the second thing I would kind of recommend is connecting with people that you may know who are adults with disabilities and kind of hearing their experience because um, maybe since they know your situation, they'll be able to kind of give you some more tips that might be helpful. And it's okay to be nervous as well. Another thing I would recommend is trying to be as independent as you possibly can as a teenager so that you kind of get used to doing some of the things either independently or semi-independently when you move out.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kayla, what are your thoughts here?
My thoughts of advice I would give to people, teenagers becoming adults is never be afraid to ask for help if you need it, but always try it first before you ask for help and say that you can't do it. It's scary, let me tell you. It's becoming an adult is the most scariest thing because you, as a teenager, you don't picture what that's like until you live it. Or like for me, I'm not the biggest fan of change, so it takes me a while to adapt to change. So my biggest piece of advice is it's good to have change, but I can see where it would be scary because you went from so much support to still support, but like you want to try and handle things on your own as best as you can.
Yeah, and Brittany, before we move on, what are your thoughts on this topic as well?
Well, I can't say it any better than the other ladies that have already spoken before me, but the other thing is also it can be very, 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 very overwhelming to think that you're 17, 18 years old, even 19, sometimes you transition late, and think, oh my gosh, I have to be an adult now. That is gonna scare the world out of you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the best advice with that being the scariest thing is don't try to take on the world by yourself. Because that's essentially what it is. You're taking on your entire world because it's all about to shift. Your entire world. Don't take it on all at once. Just like Arta, Faith, and Kayla have said, ask for help when you need it. Even with paperwork and, signing up for lists and wait lists and applications and that, if you need help filling out an application and you're not even sure how to get the application back to them, whoever it may be, you can ask them for help. Whatever the service you're applying for is, chances are they're very patient on the phone. I'm not gonna say everybody is patient on the phone because we all have those days. But I'm saying if you want to figure out how to fill out a form yourself, but you're worried that your writing is too sloppy, it's a digital world there too. So they've given you a hard copy, but they can also fill it out on their end. So call them and they can help you fill it out, or you can get somebody else in your family to help you fill it out. You just, but essentially what I'm trying to say is take it task by task. Don't think I've got to fill out all 600 applications today. My writing's going to get very sloppy. No, break it down, compartmentalize that. So break it down and make it so that it's not so overwhelming. So you take one part you want to apply for this week. Okay, apply for it this week, and then next week apply for the next thing, or apply for 2 things this week and then 2 things next week. And that way you're not getting flooded with answers or phone calls, or whatever the outcome may be. You're not getting flooded with that because you again don't know what those are going to be. So again, you're going to you don't want to stress yourself out, so you kind of got to take it chunk by chunk. And especially with being a teenager, or a young teenager or an older teenager, you're already flooded with high school. That's a stressor in itself. So you don't want to add it so you're so overwhelmed you don't know what to do. So just take life chunk by chunk as you get older. Don't try to take on the world itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And Arda, as we move on, the next question goes to you. What excites you most about the future, and what concerns you as well?
What excites me most about the future is just kind of the level of independence that I'm going to take on. And getting accepted into college was very exciting when I found out that I was accepted into the child and youth care worker program. That really kind of gave me the hope that I could kind of take this as an opportunity to be independent. There are some things that concern me about this experience, like getting around and hiring PSWs, but like I said, I've already started I've already started applying for those things. So hopefully I should hear back from them soon, and everything will be as good as I hoped.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to wish you the best of luck as you enter your next chapter of life, okay?
Thank you so much.
Congratulations, Arta.
Congrats.
Congrats.
You're gonna do great.
Does anybody else want to share for this question?
Well, for me, I'm excited to hopefully get better at my public speaking and try to learn how to just be a better advocate. I think that will help with my confidence and my independence as well.
Alrighty. And as we move on, my friend, Kayla, the next question goes to you. And I'm wondering what concerns you about the barriers towards accessing things in the community and inclusion going forward. What concerns you, and what has you the most hopeful as well?
Some of the barriers that I'm concerned about accessing in the community is not a lot of places have handicapped doors or cutouts, especially some of the places that are old. and historical. So
Mhm.
I'm hoping a way we can change that is maybe by the city, before they put these things in place, maybe asking us people with a disability how to make it better for us to access community places or community services. And maybe as a big whole is to not have so much concern on how to do things, but how to make it better. Like some of the buildings that are historical, how to make them better so we can access things better as a whole.
Well, thanks for sharing, Kayla. And does anyone else want to share their concerns or hopes for the future?
Well, I definitely hope that they do make things more accessible, not just for wheelchair access, but like the hearing impaired, visually impaired, anyone with a disability, really, pertaining to like autism, to just any type of disability out there. And making sure your equipment's up to date. I've heard, and this is just people talking on like the bus, so handy transit. I've heard that, sometimes the movie theaters don't have their hearing impaired devices charged or ready to go, so it stops working halfway through the movie, or it doesn't work at all and they can't enjoy the movie because their device that the movie theater is supposed to provide for them does not work. Or just anything really that is supposed to be making the world more accessible for those with any type of disability, then becomes more of a barrier because they're not a priority to keep up with. The maintenance to that device, whatever it may be, is not a priority. It's just an afterthought. I'm looking forward to the day where it's not, whatever the case may be, whatever the accessibility item is not just an afterthought. It's more of a priority because those people who need it to access whatever the services, whatever the goods are that you are providing to them. They actually need that to enjoy whatever it is and you should be able to provide it for them without a second thought.
And as we wrap up our conversation this afternoon, the final question goes to all of you, and I'm curious to know what would be your final message to society at large about the importance of giving individuals with disabilities a chance to succeed in a society. And Arda, I'll let you kick off the final portion of our conversation.
So as we end here, my hopes are that society perceives us having the best chance at life and kind of is continuously evolving, which I know is going to happen just with time. but giving us a chance to do what means the most to us is really going to help with our self-esteem and with our self-confidence. And also constantly kind of revisiting these topics and hoping, I'm just kind of hoping that this will kind of give us the best chance at life. And as I have stated before, most of us have goals that we want to reach, and it's really important that we reach them, and sometimes barriers get in our way. So it's important for society to be aware of those barriers so that we can all work together to kind of overcome and overcome those barriers and make the world easier for us to access.
Yeah, absolutely. And Fez, what about you? What are your final thoughts as we end today?
Well, I think that as it pertains to the last question, I think like my hope and this question, I want people with a non like that have no disabilities to be more aware of like maybe how they could be a better ally, like um, you know, having maybe not parked in a handicapped spot because maybe that's taking up space for someone who uses a wheelchair, and that could provide more space for them to get out of their car. Or even as it goes to having like buildings that do have history, but just being able to modify them just so if they do have an elevator, it's suitable for every wheelchair. And I think my hope for that is I don't think there's anything but more empowerment in giving people with any disability a chance to succeed and just being able to thrive.
Yeah, absolutely. And Brittany, how do you view the final portion of what we're talking about this afternoon?
I mean, I agree with Arta, Faith, and Kayla. Just give us a chance to succeed. Give us a chance to thrive. Don't just, and in the case of anything where if it's applying for a job and you're part of the management that's hiring, and we roll in a wheelchair and it's for like a stock position or a cashier position or something that doesn't seem like we would be able to do it. But keep in mind, we know we're in a wheelchair. We know we have a physical disability of some sort, whether we roll in a wheelchair, we walk in a walker, we have a cane, whatever the case may be, we know we have this disability. We know we use this equipment. We know how to use the equipment. We also know what we're capable of. So when we apply for the position in which the job is, and I'm just using this for an example, we already believe and we know that we can do it. So by giving us a chance to do the job, and I know in the back of your mind you may be questioning how we're going to do it or why we've applied for the job, knowing we have these disabilities, and you're seeing for the very first time and you're curious. Just give us that chance to show you what we can do. Just give us the chance, even if we're buying something at a store, we're calling you for help, we're you know, you run into us on the street and you want to start a conversation, but you don't think we can communicate as best as we can, or whatever the case may be. It's just give us that chance to show you that we can do it, whatever it is, we can do it, or we will figure out how.
Absolutely. And Faith, sorry, Kayla, I'll end with you. Tell me how you view this portion of our conversation.
I view it as an opportunity to let society know that we, just like my fellow ladies have said, we are no different than anybody else out there. Just give us a fair shot. Let us show you what we can do, and maybe it'll make ourselves feel more productive in the community. Because if you shut people like us down, we're gonna get discouraged. So I just want to let everybody know out there that we are no different than anybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, ladies, I have to tell you, this has been certainly an inspiring conversation for me. I want to wish all of you the best of luck as you enter your next phase of life. And I want to thank you for being an inspiration and an example for others to follow, and for engaging in conversation with me this afternoon. It's most appreciated.
Thank you, Kev.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Thanks for having us. It was fun.